to the astrology interview, and today I am joined with Dante Sabino, who is probably one of the world's most prolific and long-time tarot card readers. I've just been on your website, Dante, and I am blown away by your client list.
Thank you so much.
Very impressive. So let's just roll back the years and tell me, how did all this start for you? And as a child, did you kind of feel different, or were you, aware of your obvious psychic skills?
Yeah, my mother is a reader, so I grew up with it. And I was very comfortable with her reading, and I was very attracted to it as a child. So I even sat on her lap when I was little as she read clients once in a while. And it was very easy for me to feel attracted to it, and that it was nothing odd or different or unique. My mom was, it was the 70s. So my mom was teaching tarot. She was having tarot clients, and she also taught astrology, and it would always felt very comfortable for me, where my siblings were not attracted to it at all. Like, I just was the only one that really took interest in it. And by the time I became a teenager, I was already asking her to read me, and I was already taking my own interest in it. And I believe just at some point, I know that I started when I was 15 looking at cards, because she gave me a deck and said, I don't have time to read you, read yourself. And so maybe just practice on yourself. And that's what I started to do when I was 15. And it just kind of was a whole new world that opened up for me. And of course, she had all the books, that I was able to look at and read. And so I had a library accessible to me. I had the cards. I had questions. If I had questions for her, I could ask her, and it was all just the way I began with it.
Just laid out in front of you for you to take advantage of. What about your dad, Dante? Was he interested in this?
My parents were divorced when I was very young, and my father passed away when I was 17. So he was not interested in it, and he had I saw him on weekends. My parents had custody, visitation rights and stuff. But at that point, I don't even think that my father even knew that I was taking interest in it.
Wow.
And then he passed away. And by the time that he passed away, I was a junior in high school. And so at that point, I kind of just felt a little bit of liberation. My father was a little bit of oppressive with education. And at that point, I kind of just felt a little more liberated. And so with that, I took more interest in the occult, as they used to call it. And, when other teenagers were, partying, I was making friends with other readers. I was starting to get my cards read all the time by the time I was driving and going into the city. And I had reader friends. I had older women that were friends of mine that were readers. And so I just was very much attracted to it. I got read all the time, and I looked at people's styles and techniques, and I took my cards with me everywhere I went. By the time I was in college, I had my cards with me all the time. And I didn't finish my college career. I ended up working, and I started working when I was, I guess, 18, 19. And
amazing.
I started just reading everybody I worked around. So then I started to read all the time. And at one point, I would read coworkers, and, I didn't do it as a living. I just did it for fun. And I think that's very important about when you want to develop a psychic craft. You have to have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it.
I mean, you call yourself a tarot card reader, but would you also call yourself a psychic?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a psychic. I just use, they're my tools, right? And so psychic's like the umbrella, like art, and then there's sculpture, and then there's painting, right? So, I definitely have strong psychic skills. It's definitely in my astrological profile. I have a lot of signatures that show that I have strong psychic skills. I mean, when any astrologer looks at my chart, they're like, oh, wow, you're very psychic. So I have a number of things that point to that. And, I feel very comfortable doing it. And it's, I guess I call it my calling. You would say it's part of my calling.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Some people sort of seem to be that they get born into a kind of melting pot, and they take they explore all sorts of avenues and maybe take years to find what they're here to. And other people just seem to have that calling, as you talked about it. It sounds as if you didn't have any other opportunity or any other calling apart from to work with tarot. And it's very unusual to have such a high profile as a tarot card reader as you do.
Yeah, I'm pretty successful at this point. I mean, I've been reading, I'm 57 and I started when I was 15, right? So
Oh,
I've been reading for 42 years. And, it just, it wasn't, I used to have full-time jobs and, and then I had part-time jobs and it just ended up evolving into this huge business now. I'm big, I'm international, I'm well known. I read celebrities, I read all kinds of people, I read around the world. It's amazing. I love what I do. And I think that's, again, really important to
yeah.
enjoy your work.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to love it, haven't you? So I
Yeah.
think you're really interested in numerology. Tarot is one thing, and also numerology.
Yes, yes. There's more to my development, actually. I mean, people ask me once in a while, and I guess I should just mention, I did receive the light, that people talk about around the time I was 16.
Tell us about that.
Huh?
Tell me about that.
I was actually in public transportation and I was waiting for a trolley or a bus and I had this kind of outer worldly experience and I felt like this white light come right into my brain. So I was like, oh, I just received light. I knew it. I knew it then. It was a very odd time. It was in the middle of the afternoon. Nobody was around.
Yeah.
I I know that that's created a more of a cosmic connection for me somehow. I don't always act, I mean, I don't always look at it that way because I'm a very grounded reader. I'm very practical and pragmatic in my approach to tarot. But I have that part of me, definitely, that I'm connected to the source for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? When people do have these mystical experiences and they go beyond this human whatever it is and actually have that experience of life. I've had that too. I had it when
Yes.
I was about
I've had
40.
other mystical experiences, but that was the strongest one. It
Yes.
was specifically related to tarot. My cards were in my hand. I was reading the book. It was all part of it. Um, and then when I got older and a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine at the time, her mother was a parapsychologist and um, lived in Georgia. And I would go with her to visit her mom. And she wasn't a tarot reader. She was a regular card reader. She read cards and did dice and did numerology. And she was just a very, very psychic, powerful woman. And she kind of became my mentor because I continued to go study with her for a number of years. And so I had my mom and I had this mentor that was very close to me that I stayed close to her, until she passed away in 2012. And I was very connected to her. I learned a lot off her. I learned how to read off the regular playing cards. I know how to read her dice, her method of dice fortune telling that she had. And, it was a very, very special relationship. And I treasure that relationship. It's very close,
I
very
mean,
close to her.
do you feel like there's a big shift? I mean, there's been such a shift in astrology, hasn't there? Since
Oh my
basically
God. I'm
since
My
COVID.
clients, the younger generation, all my clients know their sun sign and their rising sign. I do ask when I see clients, what is their sun sign? Because it's the way I developed my system. And they all give me their rising sign and their moon, and they know the transits, and it's so exciting. And with even myself, I mean, I've always been interested in astrology, and I've always had interest through the years reading certain books and talking about astrology with my mentor and my friends. And I remember taking a class on Saturn maybe in 2001, and I've always had this thing, but I really, since the pandemic, delved seriously into tarot. It's been a passion of mine. No, actually before, since 2015, I've been seriously into astrology.
Astrology. And do
Yeah.
you kind of I mean, apart from asking clients their sun sign or whatever, do you actually look at the cards and do the astrological symbols of the cards?
Yeah, there's definitely cards in my system that correlate to certain signs as well as numbers. There's numbers on the cards, and I use those numbers. I can use them numerologically. I can use the cards and numbers, astrologically as well. Very simple. I have my own system. So some of the things that are out there in the textbooks I correlate with, and some of the things I developed on my own and may not consider that the same sign or the same number. It depends on how it appears to me. But yes, there's definitely, I do incorporate numerology and astrology into my readings.
It does seem to, one sort of fits into the other, I think, doesn't it,
Of
really?
course, yeah, they're all interconnected.
Do you feel like that tarot then has also had this same attention put on it onto it as astrology, because that too has been very much below the surface, certainly in my experience of it, or sort of in the UK it's much more sort of sidelined to oh, I don't know, psychic fairs, or it's still regarded as a bit like, oh, tarot cards a bit odd and a bit weird, or even evil. I mean, how does that play out in your experience of being an international card reader?
Well,
Tarot,
I mean,
I should say.
I how do I explain it? There is low level thinking about tarot, just like there's low level thinking about astrology, and people can be ignorant or unevolved in relationship to the psychic healing arts, including tarot. But through the years, it's grown exponentially. I think this is Uranus and Taurus actually, but I think it's grown exponentially, and not only is there a lot more exposure to all the psychic healing arts, and there's strong interest in sound bathing now, and different practices, and acupuncture blew up and yoga blew up kind
Yeah,
of preceding the mystical arts. But tarot
yes,
is part of that, and now there's more tarot on television and more tarot in YouTube and more tarot, kind of more accepted, and people are seeking out alternative forms of healing. As our
yeah.
world is expanding and our consciousness is expanding, we need to go beyond what our barriers are. And tarot is the bridge. It's sort of like the bridge into another place.
Well, I think actually tarot, astrology, and numerology are
Yeah,
they're all about helping to understand who you are.
correct. I love all of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm a Western thinker. I'm not really. I love the Eastern arts, but I'm more of a Western Judaic Christian Western person. So I kind of lean on astrology, Western astrology, and numerology from the Western perspective.
yes, yes. I learnt with Juno Jordan. I don't if you don't you know if you've come across her as a numerologist, and her book, I think it was A Secret of Numbers, was life-changing for me, because I
Yeah,
suddenly,
numerology is amazing.
and everything I see about numbers, I'm always thinking, oh, that's like a
Yeah, I've had a couple of astounding numerological readings. I have a couple of numerologists. I have about, it's numerology and astrology I do for myself as my part of my own journey and my own growth, because I don't really seek out tarot readers, so I
you don't
seek out
need
astrologers
to.
for myself. Yeah.
So how did you sort of turn from a tarot card reader into this internationally acclaimed tarot card reader? Because that's a big journey of transformation.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it was an evolution. I mean, I think I gave up full-time employment back in 2001. Around 2000 was the last time I had like a full-time employment. And through the years, I've just developed my practice one reading at a time, and I'm good at what I do. And then periodically, I had major press hits. So I had writers seek me out, and press always peaked me higher and higher. And then even last year, I had, like, between October 2023 and October 2024, I had 9 press articles written about me.
Wow.
I peaked with that last year. And since then, now with the way we have all these different platforms, people talk about me on Reddit and TikTok. I had someone talk about me on TikTok just 2 weeks ago, and I had 60 emails in one day. So I mean, it's
How do
crazy.
you manage that? Because
I
I mean,
don't.
talking as an astrologer, it's quite intense.
Yeah. I mean, I read, like, on a full day, I can read 8, 9 people a day.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm a very high efficient reader.
Yeah.
I mean, I read hundreds of people a month. I
Yeah.
read thousands of people a year.
And do you do it mainly on Zoom?
Well, no, I usually do it. Well, it's kind of 50-50. I read around the world on Zoom. I actually expanded my business into 5 cities. And so I just came back from opening up another city like last month. And those all kind of evolved as well since, I've been reading in London for the past 9 years. And so I have a huge client base in London. So I go visit friends and stay with them. And then I read my clients when I'm there. And then I've taken on Rome because now I go to Rome and read. And then I've taken on Paris. So I basically read in the five cities, Rome, London, Paris, Nantucket, Massachusetts, the island of Nantucket. And I just came back from LA and I just sold out for 2 weeks working in LA. So, and I have other cities that are kind of creeping in on me. I'm starting to consider Milan and also consider Palm Beach, Florida. So I don't know if I could take on another city right now because I'm at
There's
my limit
only
right
one of
now.
you. There is only one of you.
There's only one of me, and I have a waiting list, a Google Sheet. It's, I think, almost up to 950 clients. So like
Whoa.
I'm sold out all the time. I'm completely sold out and I'm in constant demand and it's beautiful and wonderful and successful, but it's a lot to manage.
Yes, yes, I can imagine. I can
Mhm.
imagine because I mean that says a lot, doesn't it, about your commitment to what you're doing. But as you say, there's only one of you, and to have that kind of expectation, and I'm sure a lot of people who are astrologers, tarot card readers, have this understand this sense of this high expectation of clients when they come to you. There is an expectation
Yeah,
that
and for me,
you
it's a little special because I'm not, I'm not a person. I have an assistant that helps me with my travel, but I'm really, I like the contact with the client,
yeah.
and I been in New York for 30 years, and I've been reading clients for 30 years, and I've been with clients, some of them before they met their husband, and I read their husband and I read their children, and I've been to their weddings, and I have deep, intimate relationships with people, many, many, many people. And
Yeah.
so my conflict is, do I take on new clients? Do I open up my calendar to the public where anyone can book an appointment? And then I have people calling me that I've known for 20 years trying to get an appointment with me and I can't see them. So I'm trying to learn to juggle the growth, but also still stay in contact with the people that I care about, which is there's many of them that I really enjoy and love and that know
Yeah.
me very well. I mean, it's an honor to be invited to someone's wedding, right? As a tarot reader, right?
You
I've been on their
sure
journey from their breakups to their new
yeah.
boyfriend and how they met and when they're wed and where, the whole thing. So it's all of it.
So what is it about the tarot cards that you so appeals to you?
I mean, it just feels very natural. It feels part of me. I've been carrying my tarot with me since I was 19, 19 years old. They were with me all the time, everywhere I went. So they're kind of like part of me.
Do you
Uh,
find them like a doorway, or do you find is it something to do with the symbolism? I mean, what is it for you?
Well, I like what I describe to clients when they come to me for a session. I talk about the tarot as a psychic tool, and I describe them as a system of mirrors. And so these mirrors look into your psyche, and then they reflect off the psyche. And my skills are to read the reflections off your psyche the way a doctor would read a CAT scan. So they're like psychic scanners. And so I read the scan the way a doctor reads like a PET scan. And that's how it works, basically. It's that simple. They're scanners. That's how they scan you. And because on the psychic realm, there is no time, the cards have the ability to scan over time so they can read into the past and present and the future. And so my focus when I read a client is to look into the next chapter of their life, which I call generally a year. So I use the scanners and I use the scanner out to a year, but I also say a lot of the times things I say can happen later. And depending on how I plug into your psyche, a lot of the things I can say can happen 2, 3, 4 years later. I just had a client come back from like 7 years ago and she said, I found my notes, I moved and I found my notes and I couldn't believe it, because I'll say things that may not make sense at the time, or you
Yeah,
think it's the thing I'm talking about, but then
yeah,
it manifests later and
yes.
something, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Like that happens all the time. That's fun. That's the fun stuff.
It is interesting, isn't it? This sense of time when you're working on a psychic level, because I don't know if I'm sure this happens to you, but in my experience of it is seeing something like I'm a clairvoyant, so I see things and I can say, I see you this and I feel it's, I don't know, now. And then it doesn't make any sense to them. It happened to me just the other day. And then this woman said, "Do you remember 3 years ago you told me you'd see me working in a garden centre? Well, I am." And it's very validating, but it's
Same thing
also,
happens. That's the same
how
thing with
does that
tarot.
happen?
Well, it's like you're having a
Seriously.
vision. So with I'm partially clairaudient, and my clairaudience is if I really like retreated and studied in the Himalayas, I would be better with names. But I'm very good at locations. And so
Right,
I'll say you're
right.
going to go to Portland, Oregon, and they're like, "How do you know that?" Because I think I hear it. I don't know how I don't
Okay.
necessarily see the city, but I hear it and I say it, and usually it's pretty much on
Yeah,
target or whatever. Or
yeah,
um, you know, yeah, that part is the skill. That's the psychic skill. So having strong psychic ability allows me to allow me to interpret the scan in a very, very good way or a very provocative way.
yes,
It's the
yes,
psychic
yes.
ability to know what that card means in the position it is, just like when you look at Mars, is it anger or is it courage? And the psychic ability is to know how you're applying that planet to the transit. Just when you have the Hermit card, is it education? Is it learning? Is it meditation? Is it isolation? And my psychic ability tells me what that is as it mirrors that person, because the same card can be used for another person a half hour later and it means something completely different.
Something else comes up. It's exactly the same as astrology. So
Exactly.
let's say Mars in Leo has many connotations
Correct. It's the same
depending on
thing.
the. Yeah, I find that absolutely and it's kind of like a doorway. I look at
Correct.
them as symbols or a doorway or an archetype, and then suddenly it works with my intuition. Tell me, do you think everyone has psychic abilities?
Yes, but it's like a musical talent. Some people were born being a prodigy and can play a Mozart sonata at 5 years old, and some people still are doing chopsticks when they're studying piano for like 25 years. So it's a talent. So, you're gifted in certain ways, and everyone has certain gifts, and everyone can explore their psychic ability. Everyone's psychic. It's just what they use in development and how they have the talent, and if they find the talent and what they want to do with it. Because really, our work is to serve people, and not everybody, even though they may have the talent, wants to serve at the psychic level we serve at because it's very demanding. And it can be
Yeah.
draining and
Yeah,
tiring, and
yeah,
you have to want to love
yeah.
people. You have to be people oriented because it's about service, right? This is
Oh,
about
definitely.
service.
It is, and actually about trying to be as much help as you can to
Correct.
the person on their journey. You can't
Correct.
tell them what to do, but you can have this sense of at least a sense of being a guide or a mentor or a
Of
sounding
course.
or something.
Or just your psychic tarot reader, because that's the role I play, right? So then I
Yeah,
develop the relationship as the reader, and we have a
yeah.
communication. And in my particular version of reading, I read with piles of cards, and I read cards that like sit next to each other or on a hierarchical kind of spread. And so, like red and blue, equal, purple. So like one card next to another card gives me messages, and where they're located give me more messages, and where they're positioned to the other cards give you more messages. And so it's this whole symphony of expression that comes from when you lay out the cards. And when I do a full session, I read the entire deck. And so, there's this whole huge spread that I do, and the deck is all laid out in different positionings, and it's beautiful when you look at it.
Whoa, that's absolutely fantastic. You use the whole deck.
When I do a full session, I use the whole deck. I have
And
two
what is
spreads that I offer the public.
and what is a full session for you? How long would that take?
It's usually an hour to an hour and a half, and it's the entire deck of cards. You see, it's kind of, I'll give you an example. This was someone, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like you
Oh
see,
yes. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh,
So that's someone's reading, and they say, "Well, can I take a picture
oh,
of that?" So yeah,
that's you. So you root. Why do you use the Rider Waite pack?
that's what my mother used, and that's what I'm comfortable with. I mean, I have tons of decks behind me. Someone, I bought the Dante Tarot deck because my name is Dante,
Okay.
and it's the 700th anniversary. Someone gave me this the Pasta Tarot
Oh yes,
Italian. It's hilarious.
the pasta taro. I
Someone
love
gave me the New York
that.
City Tarot. I mean, I don't use them, but they're nice to have.
Aren't they fun to have?
Yeah,
That
they're
is.
totally fun, and some of them are beautiful. People send me the decks that they create. I actually have someone just sent me a deck to look at and review, and I haven't had a chance yet because I just come back from LA and now I'm leaving for London. But I have to, I have some decks I need to review as well. It's wonderful.
Okay, Dante, what would you like to say to someone who wants to summon up the courage to start being a tarot card reader?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I think you have to have fun with it. And I think when you develop your own artistic expression, you have to find the way you want to express yourself. It's almost when you play the piano, you're reading the notes, but you have your own personal interpretation, right? So a lot of people get stuck on, well, the book says this about this card. And it may not be, I mean, that's how you have to learn, but it's like, it has to come from the inside out, not the outside in. So if you can get the learning to come from the inside of yourself to push out, while along the way you interject what you're learning from the books and the experiences and the people and what all the website says, and then if you can kind of put that together, you can really move forward and develop your own style. And I think it's important. It's like you have to have your own style.
I think so too. And actually do it
Yeah,
rather
you have to be,
than.
yeah, that's the thing. You have to not be afraid. You have to have fun with it. You can't take it too seriously. And, you have to practice. It's like anything, you have to practice. I practiced for years before I felt comfortable even taking a penny from someone.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, one of the people that I used to read I used to work in a store and I read the people at the store, on the till. I would like, throw cards. She's like, my mom wants you to read her. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's like, yeah, yeah, I want you. So I was like, okay. So I went to the mom and I read her and she actually gave me this. I didn't take money then. She gave me this gold scarab that she came back from
Ooh.
Egypt with. She went to the Egyptian tour and she gave me this gold pendant here that I wear. It was
Wow.
the first kind of payment. It was a barter. And I got this was in 1986. I got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but then, I have to earn a living too, right? And I have to,
Yeah.
and
But
and I keep developing my skills. So, now
I think I think that I certainly I can only talk about the UK. I can't talk about the Americans on this side of things. But in the UK, there is this reticence to come forward or to trust the process or to have the courage to go out and do it or believe in yourself or to attune to the intuition. We're a very heady nation. So, and it is this sort of sense of just do it. Have the guts to go and read for a friend.
I
And
think
then
I think Americans are less reticent. I think they're more, let's
yeah,
try, let's do it. But then also I think what needs more, I mean, I think some of them lack development, some of them lack the skills, you have to do the basics before you are
yeah.
being able to
But
read
you learn on the
it.
job
Yes.
as well, don't you? Because every reading or I learn every single client that I have, I learn from without fail.
Oh God. Yeah,
Something
I mean, it's always a
I
journey.
haven't thought of that one before.
Oh God, you name it, I've seen it. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a new one. I'm like, wow, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. I mean, some of the stories are just so amazing.
And that's the
And
privilege.
then I have this, intimate conversation about people's things, right? People's history and family and you have to be able to handle the rough stuff, death,
But,
infidelity, divorce,
yeah.
custody battles, pregnancy, infertility. It's a huge one.
Yeah,
It's huge.
or other things that go around that. And
Oh my
so,
God. I
you
just
know,
had a client yesterday that had a miscarriage. I don't know how many weeks in. People cry with me all the time. I have
yeah,
tissues in the drawer next to them because they have to
Yeah,
talk about their feelings, and sometimes it can be
absolutely.
really healing to try. It's very healing. Mhm.
And they go away feeling some sense of release. And that's
Mhm.
what this is all about.
I mean, I title my full session Lightening My Burdens and Solving My Problems. So my goal is to lighten your burdens. My goal is to bring lightness of being to your psyche, and to help guide, illuminate whatever it is that you might need. I can be a very I'm kind of a New Yorker, I can be a little provocative. I can bang the table. I can curse. I can be a little tough love. I'm
Yeah,
more of a tough love kind of reader, but then I'm also can be very delicate and sensitive and delicate when I need to be as well, depending on the situation I'm dealing with.
absolutely
I
brilliant.
mean, I've got people have come to me with all kinds of issues. When it's my husband has a terminal illness, I want to know when he's going to die.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
people come to me drunk and they're alcoholics and they need help. I mean, I try to get them into AA. So you never know what you're going to get. I've read criminals, I've read celebrities, it's a whole
yeah.
plethora of,
And
think of
you
it,
know,
just
and you
anyone you
know,
can meet on the street. If I read them, they all have a story.
they're all human beings
They're
doing
all
what
human
they
beings
can.
and they all want to be
They
loved
are,
and they all seeking me
whatever.
out for a reason.
Absolutely, because that's exactly what happens when people come for an astrology reading. They need some form of guidance or they need
Mhm.
some form of validation, something, and to go away feeling better than when they came. And that for me is that's been successful then. If they've come
Yes,
away
yes.
feeling better than when they
And
came.
of course, I'm human too. So I tell people I mean, I like to be 80%. I don't want to be 100% accurate. Are you kidding? I want to be 80% accurate. That's good. And
Yeah.
I also, don't let people see me more than once or twice a year. I don't let dependency happen on me. And it depends. I've had a couple of friends wiggle their way in and get me to see them like every month or call,
Yeah, I think
but
that's
I kind of, it's very, you have to be my friend to do that,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
yeah, and not every, and I may not be for everybody. My technique and style may not resonate with someone the way it resonates with the person before them or the person after them. But I give an introduction, I give disclaimers, I talk about my process, I answer questions about how I work. Um, and I also offer a half session, which is less intense.
Yeah.
And someone could do a half session where they want to have main questions answered and not have all the transformative stuff. Some people don't need that. Some people are just, am I going to get the job or not? Am I going to move or not? Is the guy going to get engaged with me or not? Is the guy coming back or not? All those things, they may not be open to find out they're going to do a meditation practice and see their friend from college from 30 years ago. It depends
Yeah.
what their goal is, and so it's really got to be a meeting of the minds, and we have,
Mm.
I'm kind of driving the car, but they have to come in with an open mind for me to do my work, basically.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. I just love, I've really enjoyed talking with you about this because it's so special.
It is
And
special. There's not many of me out there that are doing this
mm,
the way I am.
yeah, yeah. And now I know you're insanely busy, but if somebody did want to get in contact with you and go up the end of your 900 waiting list,
Okay.
how would they
So
do that?
they have to, the best way is check my web, because on my website I have an online booking calendar, and I periodically open up my appointments. And so a lot of people don't realize, they're like, oh, there's nothing on your calendar for the next 2 years, but I really only work into the next couple of months. So for example, I'll put in a bunch of appointments soon for July, and I might open up 30 appointments. And if you want an appointment, you might get one of those appointments, but I usually sell out in like 2, 3 days. I get like I sell out.
Yeah.
And then I also leave a couple of open appointments that I don't put online. So people that contact me that I might know, or people that might call me on the phone or text me, and I might be able to give them an appointment. I don't know. I'm working on that part. It's a little bit of a daunting thing, and I'm traveling, and I'm going to be gone for the month of May. So I'm doing some remote sessions, and I'll open up a bunch of remote sessions while I'm in Rome. Um, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to work, be home in New York in most of July. And then in August, I go to Nantucket. I work there for 3 weeks. So I'll open up a bunch of remote appointments as I service my clients up in the island of Nantucket, which is so much fun and lovely and beautiful there. So yeah, people, if you want me to read you, you got to like hunt me down.
Yeah, hunt him down.
Hunt
Hunt
me
him
down. It's like you find me eventually. I answer my phone. I'm old school, This is
down.
like this is like my calendar. I have
Yeah.
everything written down. I have one. I'm old. I got pen and paper. I
Yes.
got the online thing, and I like I said, at some point.
Oh,
So
Rose.
maybe if things changed, I would have someone field for me, but I don't know how I'm doing that yet.
Well, listen, it's just been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you too.
Yeah, and well, we're going to get together and do a bit of a swap, aren't we, at some point? So,
Yes, I would love that. That would be great.
I'm just going to pause this and thanks so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.